Yo, what is up, you guys? The Baller Man Gambit. We're back on Neverwinter today. Finally, forever. I've had a lot of requests, a lot of comments saying, "What is my build now?" Because I haven't updated my build in I don't know, almost 2 years or maybe a year. So yeah, it's been a long time, and yeah, I'm gonna show you guys my new build. So we're gonna jump right into it. Let's start off. We're gonna first start off with the my feats. So as you can see, I have 3 points in toughness, increase your maximum hit points to 9%. 3 in weapon mastery, increases your critical chance by 3%. 1 in battle wise, so I can move on to the next section, because I really don't need this. Agile combatant. After switching stances, deal 3% more damage for 5 seconds. Lucky Skirmisher, increases your deflection chance by 3%. Endless Assault, your encounter powers deal 6% more damage. Scoundrel Training, your at will powers deal 6% more damage to foes not targeting you. Disciple of Dexterity, increases the amount of bonus damage Dexterity gives you by 6%. And in this build, I forgot to mention that I am a Storm Warden. I am a archery and combat spec, or a hybrid. So in the archery tree, I have Keen Eye. Your range powers generate 5% more AP or action points. Broadhead arrows, while in range stance, you gain 5% critical chance. Long shot, your critical range attacks also deal 25% of your weapon damage as piercing damage. This bonus is doubled for encounter powers and tripled for dailies. Unflinching aim, your range powers deal 20% more damage. Aimed shot now decreases the recharge time of your currently recharging counter powers by 1 second. Rising focus, ranged critical strikes grant 5% critical severity and 5% more power stacks 3 times, last 6 seconds. And Predator, use a ranged encounter power on a foe, applies prey to your target. You deal 50% additional damage to your prey. You may only have 1 prey at a time, and you cannot reapply prey until it expires. Prey lasts 20 seconds or until the prey dies. And jumping down to the combat tree, we have our Bloodletting. While in melee stance, you gain 5% more lifesteal. And Warden's Courage, increases the damage bonus and reduce the damage resistance penalty of throw caution by 5%. Skirmisher's Gambit, your critical chance is reduced by 10%, but your critical severity is increased by 50%. And this one is very important because I'm going to get into it, but throw caution, you want to always throw that constantly. Alright, up next we're going to jump into Boons. So in the guild, I have my power bonus activated. In defense, I have hit points bonus activated. Increases your hit points from 3,200 to 32,000. Lessen effects. Levels less than 70. In utility, I have the mount speed. And in the PvP, which I don't even do PvP, but I guess I just decided to use it anyway. Increase the stamina drained by any mark of drained stamina by 1 to 6% of the target's maximum stamina. Which, like I said, I don't do PvP, so you guys can go through and pick whatever PvP campaign you want to go through. I don't know. I'm not even going to get into that because I do not like the PvP here. In Sharndar, I have Dark Fey Hunter. You gain 400 power. Fey Precision, you gain 400 critical strike. Elven Haste, you now gain action points 3% faster. Elven Ferocity, when striking a foe, you have a chance to deal up to 20,000 arcane damage. And Elvish Fury, when you kill a foe, you gain 135 power for 45 seconds. This buff stacks for up to 30 times. And Dread Ring, our first one is Conjurer's Gambit. You gain 250 critical strike and 250 movement. Evoker's Thirst, you gain 400 lifesteal. Forbidden Piercing, you gain 3% resistance ignored. Shadow Touch, when dealing damage, you have a chance to deal up 20,000 necrotic damage over a few seconds. After this effect ends, the target receives 25% less healing from spells for 10 seconds. And Rampaging Madness, when you deal damage, you gain a stack of madness. When you reach 50 stacks of madness, you gain 40,000 power. 4,000, sorry, not 40,000. 4,000 power, 4,000 lifesteal, and 4,000 regeneration. 10 seconds after gaining this bonus, your stacks are reset. You may only gain 1 stack of madness per second. Icewind Dale. Encroaching Tactics, you gain 400 combat advantage bonus. Refreshing Chill, you gain 400 stamina gain. Sleep Skills, you gain 2% critical severity. Cool Resolve, you gain up to 2,000 power based on how much stamina or guard you are missing. Winter's Bounty, chance to gain 10% action points when killing the target. To the Underdark. Primordial Might, you gain 400 power and 1,600 maximum hit points. Primordial Focus, you gain 400 critical strike and 1,600 maximum hit points. Dro Ambush Tactics, combat advantage damage bonus is increased by 10%. Dwarven Stamina, you now regain stamina 5% faster. And Abyssal Strikes, gain 10% damage versus demons. Alright, I'm not quite done with Tyranny of the Dragons, but as you can see, I need to do one more step, but I'll still walk you guys through it. So first up, Dragon's Claws grants 400 power. Dragon's Gaze grants 400 critical strike. Draconic Armor Breaker grants 400 armor penetration. Dragon's Greed grants 400 lifesteal rating. And Dragon's Fury, I want to get this up to the 8% mark, so grants 8% increased critical severity. And the Maze Engine, Abyssal Siphoning, you gain 5% lifesteal severity. Demonic Influence, you gain 400 combat advantage bonus. Demonic Endurance, your stamina regenerates 10% faster in combat. Baphomet's Might, when striking a foe, you have a chance to gain 2,000 critical strike bonus for 6 seconds. Alright, to the Elemental Evil. Wave of Force, you gain 300 power and 2,000 maximum hit points. Heart of Stone, you gain 4% lifesteal severity and 2,000 maximum hit points. Searing Aggression, you gain 400 critical strike and 2,000 maximum hit points. Gale of Retribution, when taking damage, you have a chance to heal up to 24,000 hit points over a few seconds. After this effect ends, your critical strike is increased by 1,000 for 10 seconds. And next up, the Storm King's Thunder. So first up, Cold Hearted, you gain 2% lifesteal severity and 1,000 maximum hit points. Hardy Constitution, you gain 400 stamina gain and 2% Everfrost damage resistance. Icy Wrath, chance when taking damage to gain up to 2,000 bonus damage on the next attack. Glacial Strength, your max HP is increased by 3,200 and 2% Everfrost damage. And last but not least, Chill of Winter. When striking a foe, you have a chance to gain a stack of Icy Chill at 10 stacks. Your next attack clears all stacks and releases the burst that deals up to 14,000 damage to targets close to you. Damage over time effects will not trigger this ability. Alright, next up, Cloak Ascendancy. Also, I'm not done with this. I have one more step, as you can see. But I'm going to walk you through Demoralize. When you kill an enemy, you have a chance to demoralize up to 5 enemies within 25 feet, stunning them for 4 seconds. Fiery Frenzy, or Fury Frenzy, I don't know. I think it's Fury. Is it Fury? No, Fiery. No, Fiery Frenzy. You gain 2% critical strike severity and 1,000 maximum hit points. And Fey Briars, you gain 500 lifesteal and 2,000 maximum hit points. And in this, I think I would gain. Let's see. Let's actually just read through them because I haven't really read through these. Vision of Beyond. When you land a critical strike, your stamina regenerates 10% faster. Planar Vitality. When you deflect, I'm not gonna get that one because I don't have anything to do with deflect. Aberrant Power. When damaged by a foe, chance to gain a stack of Aberrant Power at 10 stacks. Taking damage will clear the stacks and deal up to 10,000 damage to nearby targets. Aberrant Creatures. Aberrant Slaughter, you have a chance to slay a lesser aberrant. Nah, I won't do that one. So I would either go for the Vision of Beyond or the Aberrant Power. That's up to you guys to decide. However you feel like it would work the best. And Jungles of Cholt, I'm currently working. I'm not on the right tree right now. I'm working through the progression the middle part, but let's read through them just to go through them. Tyrant's Terror, you gain 500 power and 800 maximum hit points. Beast Burden, you gain 15% increased damage versus dinosaurs and maximum hit points. So in this one, I would pick Tyrant's Terror. Shamanic Grace, you gain 1000 generation, 2000 maximum hit points. Dino Defiance, you gain 15 increased damage resistance versus dinosaurs. So in this one, I would pick the Shamanic Grace. Overgrown, you gain 1000 defense and 1600 hit points. And Fight Not Flight, what does it say? Can't really see it. Come on. You gain 1000 deflect and 1600 maximum hit points. So in this one, I'd probably well, this one could go either or, but I would probably get the deflect, depending on how I'm feeling. I don't know. Soul Siphon, chance on hit, gain a stack of Soul Siphon when killing a creature. I'm not gonna read all this. You can pause it here, and I'll let you read this. Lingering Curse, Death's Blessing, Impenetrable Jungle, and you guys could pick whichever one you think fits well with you. Next up, we're gonna run through my gear. Well, not really my gear, because my gear is kind of off, because I just changed I basically just retrained all my skills. But we're gonna go through armor, enchantments, and the I guess my weapons, and my neck and my waist, and we can also go through the artifacts. So anyway, let's start. Armor enhancement slot, we have a Greater Bark Shield enchantment. In my main hand, I have the Eye Piercer. I have the Transcendent Dread enchantment, which Transcendent Dread would be the perfect enchantment to get, because obviously, as you can see, deals 50% weapon damage as necrotic damage to target enemies every second for 4 seconds when you activate a power. This reduces the defense of PvP targets by 40% and the damage resistance of PvE targets by 4%. Once every 5 seconds, reduce target enemy damage resistance by 4% for 4 seconds when you land a critical strike. Once every 5 seconds. And in this build, I'm constantly hitting critical hits, so I'm constantly lowering their defense for the team and for me to do more damage, etc., etc. And for my offhand, I have the Eye Ripper. For my main artifact, I'm using the Wheel of Elements, just for the maximum hit points, power, and stamina guard. As my offhand artifacts, I have the Eye of the Giant, and it gives me the maximum hit points, power, critical strike, armor pin, and defense. And then I have Lantern Revelation. It gives me critical strike, armor pin, and combat advantage. And then finally, I have the Sigil Controller, which gives me power, critical strike, and control resist. And in my belt, I have the Greater Twined Rope of Dexterity, which gives me 4 dex, 847 power, critical strike, armor penetration. And in my neck, I have the Company Duelist Cloak, which gives me 2 dex, 2 wisdom, power, deflection, and lifesteal. And my stats, as you can see, I'm focused on dex and wisdom. Dex is the primary attribute for Hunter Rangers, while wisdom is the secondary attribute. As you can see, my power right now is 30,000. My critical strike is not where I want it to be. I want my critical strike to at least be up to 80-90%. I need to definitely work on this, but you want to raise your critical strike as high as you can, or your critical chance as high as you can, excuse me. And my armor pin, I want to get my armor pin up to 60,000 without my companion buffs, but we'll talk about that later. And recovery, and I'll just scroll through my stats so y'all can see, or get a gist of what I'm running with or what I have. Alright, so next up we're going to do companions. Oh, and I'm also running a Dragonborn, so I don't forget. Alright, so companions, I have the Fire Archon. Increases your damage against targets with less than 50% hit points by plus 7%. Each additional active Archon increases it by 0.5%. I have the Cholton Tiger, I think it's called. The active bonus increases the drop rate of Omuan treasures and lost idols in Cholt by 10%. Your run speed and damage are increased by 5% for 25 seconds. I have the Siege Master. Deal +3 increased damage. This effect increased to +7% while on the Stronghold map. Then I have the Air Archon. Increases your damage against targets not at full health by 3%. Each additional active Archon increases this bonus by 0.5%. And last but not least, I have the Sellsword, I think it's called, and it just gives me 300 power. This could also be your main companion if you don't have the Cholton Tiger, because this companion gives you the final strike of a wicked strike. Now it shreds 10% of the target's defense. So when this companion is fighting, it constantly shreds. Constantly. Next up, we're going to go through mount insignias. So I have Assassin's Covenant, decreased defense, deflection, lifesteal, increased power. Next up, Magistrate's Patience. On critical strike, applies the damage over time on a foe or heal over time on allies. Protector's Camaraderie. When your companion attacks or you gain power and defense. Shepherd's Devotion. When you use a daily power, receive a buff. And Wondrous Fortune. Defeating the enemy has a chance to drop a bonus reward. Next up, we're going to go through our powers. So, as you can see, the main powers that I use are Rain of Arrows, Forest Ghost, Aspect of the Pact, Aim Shot, Aim Strike, Split the Sky, Throw Caution, Electric Shot, Clear the Ground, Disruptive Shot, and Cordon of Arrows. And I'm going to basically go through these, the description. So, Cordon of Arrows, designate a target location. The hostile creature steps within 15 feet of it. It becomes entangled. Takes damage and is pulled to the center of the trap. You may have a maximum of 3 of these in any active area anytime. The melee, plant growth, slash your foe, causing plants to grow wildly around them, rooting all targets for 20 seconds. This root breaks if the target takes more than 500% damage, your weapon damage. Disrupt the Shot, quickly fire an arrow at your target's head, dealing damage and interrupting their attack. I just use this as a just another daily, because I didn't know exactly which one to use, but this is my personal choice. You can choose whichever one you want. Twin Blade Storm as my class feature. Anytime you hit more than 2 enemies, you deal an additional 4% damage. I chose this because you always hit more than 1 enemy. Always. Like, I don't think there's a time at all, other than when you're fighting a boss, that you don't hit more than 1 enemy. Next up is the Split the Sky and Throw Caution, which this is probably, or these two are probably the most important Paragon powers to have with the Archer and Combat build, because the Split the Sky alone, this is what causes you to hit multiple targets, and Throw Caution basically buffs your damage. And as you can see, like, everything that I have right now buffs my damage. It increases my damage every time I hit multiple people. But let me read the description for you. So, Split the Sky, lacerate the sky, opening a storm in a large area. Periodically, a random enemy in this area will be struck by lightning, snaring them and dealing damage. Additionally, enemies who attack you or your allies in this area will be struck by the same lightning. And Throw Caution, quickly strike your target and risk lowering your defenses to deal increased damage for a short period. And then I have my At Will to be Aim Shot. take precise aim, fire an incredibly deadly shot at your enemy. And in the melee form of it, take careful aim, striking your foe in a vital spot, causing significant bleed damage, but can only stack once. And then I have aspect of the Pact activated. If you're within 10 feet radius of an ally, you and your ally gain a combat advantage. And I have Forest Ghost. I just use Forest Ghost just as a precautionary if I may need to get away. But the description reads, slip into the forest where you remain unseen for a short duration. While hidden, you automatically strike nearby foes you come across. Each target will not be attacked more than once per second. Then next up, we have Rain of Arrows. Fire several shots into the air which rain down on the enemy in a small area. And then Rain of Swords, strike down with your blades in a large area in front of you. And then that's it. That's the power that I use. If you have any more questions about the powers that I use or why I use them, please comment below. And now we're gonna go through my basic rotation of what I do during boss fights or during a mob fight or mob phase. So first of all, I use the Rain of Arrows. I usually try to put it in between a bunch of enemies, where in this case it will be between these dummies, and I'll use this. And it will hit both. As you can see, all my procs going on, rising focus. And you can see from the right dummy, you saw how fast their health dropped. So yeah, I'll usually hit Rain of Arrows in between, and then I'll go with Split the Sky. And then Split the Sky, as you can see, hits multiple targets, another thing that buffs and increases my damage. So Split the Sky literally hit all 4 of these. So in hitting more than one enemy, I get another buff, and I get my attack damage raised even more. And then I go with the I think it's called the Cordon of Arrows, I think. And this is the one that allows, if you shoot it, any enemy within the range will get pulled into the middle. And then I switch over to melee stance, and I run up, and I use the Throw Caution. The Throw Caution allows me to gain another increase in damage for a short while. And then you don't really have to use these, but I use them just so my other powers have time to cool down. But using the entanglement, that last move I just used, is really important because that's a big burst of damage just from using that alone. But anyway, I'll show you guys like in real time. So I use the Rain of Arrows and Split the Sky. Then I switch over, Throw Caution, and I basically hit them a few times with this, and I basically start over again. And by the time you get done using all your powers, your Split the Sky will be ready to go again. And I just constantly do this in rotation. And yeah, as you can see, these dummies in the middle literally cannot get their health back. And using both the combat and the archer allows me to do a lot of burst damage and allows me to hit a lot of crit shots. And as you can see, I'm hitting a lot of crit shots. I just hit a 257,000 hit. But yeah, that's it, guys. If you need anything else, don't forget to comment below. Don't forget to hit that like button. If y'all have any suggestions for the next video or have any suggestions for my build, please let me know down in the comments below. And yeah, don't forget, be all American. Peace.